welcome to the Board of Education meeting for 5 o'clock, January 7th, 2025. We will begin by indicating who's here. Clark.
Clark Nelson.
Karen Winder. Chris Wynn.
Connie Burgess.
Kim Chandler.
Todd Hubbard.
Ben Worsley.
And Nicole McDermott. We're going to begin by we have board member oath of office. So Clark, why don't you go ahead and start, and we'll see if Julie comes in the meantime.
Sure.
Probably better if I just listen.
Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Clark Nelson,
Having been appointed
to the office of Granite School Board District 2, Precinct 2,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations. Thank you.
This is my turn.
Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Nicole McDermott,
Having been appointed
to
the office of Granite School Board District 4,
having been appointed to Granite School District Board number 4,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey,
obey,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity. So my family can stand up. I made them all come. Go ahead and stand up, you guys. And a bonus child. And Kyle, who helped with the support as well. So thank you for being here. These guys were my champions during my campaign, so thanks so much, you guys. Here's Julie. Stay right there, Julie. You guys can sit.
Congratulations on your election win to all the McDermotts.
Thank you, Todd. The only nice one of the crowd.
Wow. That was a blanket condemnation.
That's what I'm here for.
You ready? All right.
I put my hand up.
Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Julie Jackson,
Having been appointed
to
the office of Granite School Board District number 1,
the office of Granite School Board District 1,
do solemnly swear that I will support,
obey,
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge
the duties of my office
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Halbert.
All right, thanks. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on and turn the time over to Don Adams and Justin and Chris for our construction update.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, superintendent, and Todd. Happy New Year, happy 2025. We know that for your first board meeting after you're sworn in, you could think of no better, rousing start than a project update. We understand you have some time constraints this evening, so we will try and be judicious in how we go over this, knowing that you've had a chance to review this ahead of time. Some of the pictures are new, and we'll spend some time on those. But again, for the audience as well, we'll try and be brief as well where we're headed. So when it comes to security upgrades, we'll be doing Valley Crest Elementary security upgrades starting in March? April?
End of February, actually, 1st of February.
Oh, 1st of February, we're going to start some demolition and work around their critical testing windows. And then we'll be doing West Kearns Elementary with Granite School District maintenance personnel, and that will be starting soon. I think we're just waiting for materials to arrive. So those two folks will be getting their security upgrades. The upcoming...
Quick question, just on West Kearns. What's kind of your timeline for how long that would, once it is started? Are we talking like weeks, months?
Yeah, it's actually very quick. It's several weeks, probably figure a month, 4 weeks to get it done. And we've talked with Kyle there, and he knows they can stay in their office, and we'll just work around him, so.
Okay.
I call it 4 to 6 weeks with tuning and programming. Okay, great question. A lot of what we're doing is finishing projects, be it at Hunter, starting soon projects with fueling stations to meet new state requirements, both at maintenance and transportation, and looking forward to continuing Cottonwood High School's refloor project, abatement first, then refloor. We just talked about the 2 security projects. We'll need to finish some Churchill roofing in the spring and summer, frankly summer, so we can get into the walls. And then Silver Hill, working on their multi-purpose partition door, still working through some of that, and then still awaiting some Hunter High bleacher issues to come to fruition. But the newer, more exciting projects, yes, ma'am?
Just back to the Cottonwood High flooring. Is that, you're finishing the flooring that you did before? Can you just remind me?
It's a 3-year phase project because the time it takes to get in over a 10-week summer and abate old asbestos containing flooring, and then to lay down the next section, we had to divide the school in thirds to do that.
Oh, gotcha.
Just not
so
enough
you did
time
a
in the
third.
summer.
Now you're doing a third.
Phase
then
2
you'll
of
do
3.
a third. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
great question. Sorry for that. So the next is talking about a couple of new projects. Magna Elementary helping, two things coincide nicely. The first is we were very fortunate to work hard and receive a Blue Sky grant from Rocky Mountain Power. Our energy management team went out and really worked hard with Rocky Mountain Power. This is to add PV, so PV panels to produce energy. And then Rocky Mountain Power wanted us to try a battery storage project. What they're trying to do is take the peak load off of their system. And so if we make our energy and store it for our peak startup periods, they don't have to increase their infrastructure. And so we'll be doing something very unique in the state of Utah, at least, with having some battery storage at the school. This technology helps us really weave into the upcoming branding of the STEM school side of it. And so in addition, we'll be working to do some cosmetic refreshing on the school, both inside and outside, to highlight what we were able to do with the energy and technology, but also just to welcome the STEM program. And so you'll start to see us, we are working on design. That'll be a phased construction where we're going to try and do some of the work. We can put PV panels on the roof and not disturb school. The interior refresh will wait for the summer. Okay, so really exciting as we try with a tight budget to do some very exciting things with Magna. And again, this kind of shows where the school's at, showing a little bit of age here, but we'll be able to bring some excitement into the community. Similar concept, but no Rocky Mountain Power grant, bringing Brockbank Junior High online. They'll be focusing on some STEM curriculum as well. And so we'll be going in and doing some refreshing on the building to support that. There are some functional needs that we'll want to address, as well as making sure teaching technology is up to speed for STEM, bringing the media center back to life that had been used as a teaching space. We have to replace some flooring, and of course it's an older building and it has some abatement as well, and so we'll be pushing the abatement side on some of the flooring before we put in some new flooring there. There are a couple of cosmetics on the outside where some of the old cement casing work that was aesthetic in the 50s has started to crack over the years, so we'll be making some aesthetic / safety repairs out there to make sure that it's not structural, but that the aesthetics continue to maintain themselves, and try and do as much as we can to brighten it with LED lighting and to help the school with their rebranding, because Cypress did put some of their colors and some of their logos in, and so we're going to try and spin that back to Brockbank and be supportive of some generic branding while they determine what their mascot will be into the future.
That's what I was going to ask, if they had already, are they working on that?
They are, and that's a Mitch question. I'm happy to have him give more details. We're the generic folks.
We are going to wait until Brockbank students are there so that students can be part of the selection of their new mascot.
Dawn, I wondered, we've got students in there currently, right? So will there be any interruption? That's what I want to know.
No, this is going to be a heavy, hard 10-week summer lift project.
Oh,
Yeah.
this will happen summer.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, if there are some discrete things that we can do on the exterior of the building or behind the scenes, we will do it. It's already scheduled, for example, for carbon monoxide detection and a fire alarm system upgrade. That's all behind the scenes, so we'll jump into that before school's out, but anything disruptive is all over the summer. It'll be a very hectic 10 weeks.
And Julie, some of those teachers are probably moving to the new campus also. So there's going to be movement, packing, and those kind of things already. So I think it's going to be probably hand in hand with that.
Yeah, that's a great point, thank you. And I think the term I would use is a cacophony of fun and excitement.
Yeah, that's a good word.
It's an all hands on deck moment.
We'll be quick on most of these. Most of the boiler replacement, HVAC control upgrades are in their final throngs here. Again, just going to Truman, you've seen some of the pictures. It's finished out nicely for the aesthetic side of it. Functionality, we're tuning some things. For example, over the Christmas break, we decreased some fan RPMs. I know that's not very exciting for you, but we brought them into manufacturer spec and they're a lot quieter. And so the teachers are appreciative of that type of fine tuning that will continue on. And then of course we got in with our crews and repainted and hung new LED lights in the office while they were out for the winter break. Yes?
Yeah, there's exciting news at Westlake right after Thanksgiving break and before Christmas break. The auditorium was opened up and they were able to have a school event in there, which was great, and it is very exciting. If you've not been and seen the new auditorium, I highly recommend it. It's a nice, very nice.
It looks beautiful.
It is.
That is such great news. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
very exciting. And then ongoing punch list items and a few things like that. But for the most part, we're really excited to give them their auditorium.
I'm sorry, this is actually a drawing, not a picture, right?
No, this is a photograph.
Oh, it is a photo. Okay, so I stand by it looks beautiful.
Yes, correct. Past tense, yes. And I'll turn it over to Chris.
Okay. Due to time constraints, I'm going to skip over the list of work. Even with the holidays, quite a bit of work was still accomplished at the Cypress campus over the holiday. And our very mild winter to date has been very, very helpful in the construction progress. We've even been pouring some flat work, some sidewalks and other things that we normally do not have the opportunities to do this time of year, but because of where the weather is at, quite a few footings, sidewalks, The seating feature that you see that's in the courtyard and everything have been able to be accomplished. So quite a bit of heavy lifting that normally we don't get done this time of year has been able to be accomplished. The pool deck pour, it's a little further along than that right now, but quite a bit of that has been poured. The basketball flooring has completed installation. The media center storefront frames are installed, the ceiling grid in the student area, everything's coming together quite well. And we're really headed into the last 6 months of very exciting construction. You're really starting to see the building resemble its final configuration with a lot of tile work going on, a lot of finish work, the wood paneling work, and other things along those lines. So Cypress progress is going very, very well. We've been working with the contractor to finish certain classroom pods ahead of time so that we can just lock the doors and keep everybody out of some of those areas, and then so that we can coordinate getting the furniture in sooner rather than later, because in addition to all the fun that they're going to be having down to Brockbank, we get to relocate a whole high school this summer, which is going to be a lot of coordination. And if everything's already set up in there, and the contractor and the staff are not competing for elevator space, will be very helpful. We have no administrative, no change orders to bring before the board. Right now, I'm going to jump you a little bit, Julie. We have less than 70 remaining items on the academic building. So performing arts, as you can see from this aerial photo, and actually even with the holiday, we had quite a few more panels that were stood on the auditorium. It's really taking shape. It's looking really, as you can see, they've added several, from the aerial, several casting beds, especially for the shorter panels that go across the front. So we're actually doing very, very well schedule-wise on the final academic stage. You can see the suspended concrete slab at the orchestra. Quite a bit of work is doing there. The auditorium, there's just a lot of concrete work. And what you can't see, this is a better thing, the steel beams and the deck at the stage area, and then the academic wing that sits behind the auditorium, which we're at Cypress, it's side by side with the auditorium. At Skyline, it's actually behind the auditorium and sits at a 90-degree angle. So that academic wing is progressing quite well. We're very pleased, and once again, our very mild winter to date, especially those of you who live on that upper side of the bench know that the winter there is different than from lower down on the bench, and we've been able to just completely move forward with tilt panels throughout this entire winter, which has been very favorable. So you can kind of see the academic wing there behind is rapidly completing the tilt panel installation. The steel framing is complete on the inside of it, and we're making excellent progress right now at Skyline. And we don't have any changes to bring before the board for approval at Skyline. If there are any questions.
On Cypress, so you can't predict, but right now it looks like everything's on schedule to be
Yes.
completed in 1st of June.
In June, it'll be
Okay.
completed. The building will be punched and completed by the beginning of June. And so we will have some site work in some of the fields that will continue into June, but we're looking very good right now at the moment.
Great, thank you.
And it's going to be a very busy summer between Brockbank and this. Every moving vehicle that the school district owns is going to be very busy this summer.
Okay, any other questions? Great job. Thanks, you guys. We're excited for this. All right, we're going to invite Dr. Flanagan to come up, who is going to share with us just some updates on the Cypress Network and all the moving parts. Is that a fair way to say it?
good evening, Board. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening, as well as the superintendency. I was asked to come and at least attempt to give a 100-foot view of all the staffing changes that'll be occurring over the coming months. What I did, so this is a timeline for each one of the different events that has been created in close coordination, collaboration with Mitch and Ben, our superintendent, as well as our building administrators, the association, and us in HR. And each of those timelines feeds into a Gantt chart that allows us to track in real time where we're at. So I took that and put it into something that might be pleasant to look at for you rather than just a list. I thought I overheard somebody say cute. I'd like to say.
Did you use Canva? Is this a Canva
yes,
project?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm impressed.
Patrick, just real quick, just in the next day or two, would you mind sending this digitally so that we
sure,
can
yeah.
actually download it in
Yeah.
part of, because I would love to have it on my device.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, appreciate it,
Yeah,
thanks.
I can easily do that. So in any given year, we may have 1 or 2 of these happening. It's exciting to think that we get a chance to do 5 of them. And that's why I had these different timelines fed into a Gantt chart to try and stay on top of everything so we can track that. In our weekly staff meetings, we look at it, see where we're at, and check in. It has required many meetings going out to our school sites, visiting with the administrators, their SLIDs, as well as their faculties. That'd be both the ESPs and the contract teachers. And in each time that we've done that, we recognize that we've gone sometimes in a difficult news to be delivered, where they've heard about a decision that's been made at the board meeting, but we try to do that in a way that we know you guys would approve of, which is to go in there honoring their professionalism and recognizing the difficulty of the situation and being there as a listening ear as we do so. And we hope that we've been able to accomplish that in the many meetings that we've had over the last several months. I don't know if there's specific questions. It may take some time just as you look over that to see. These are really just the big rocks, if you will, the things that we want to make sure we check off. They're rooted in our professional agreement. They're rooted in our historic practice when there's been similar staff movements necessary. And rooted in lots and lots of meetings with a variety of folks in leadership positions. I know Mitch and I have had the opportunity to meet with principals talking about some of these things since, was it September, Mitch? We started meeting out there in the Magna area to start trying to anticipate some of this stuff. So.
I have a quick question for you. Maybe it's not quick. As we're looking at this STEAM, Magna STEAM rebranding, are there specific things you're looking for as you guys are re-interviewing all the teachers or asking for new applicants? What is it specifically? Are you looking for somebody, like, what is it going to, I guess, what's it going to look like? Are you going to have an arts teacher, a music teacher? What are they all going to look like? Are you looking for somebody that has a science background with that, or what, does that make sense, what you're looking for?
Yeah, well, I'll let perhaps Mitch answer to that in just a second. But just from our standpoint in HR, we will provide a template with a posting and what we typically see, but there is flexibility given to the administrator, and my guess is Ben and Mitch have had a chance to talk about this as they're working towards this vision of the new Magna School, and there'll be that flexibility to add what they're hoping to find in applicants or help folks that are looking at that. Hey, am I a good fit for this school? Go ahead.
Sure. Our new principal, or our existing principal with the new vision, will begin to have some open house opportunities for teachers to come and learn about what it is to teach at a STEAM elementary school and be able to articulate the needs. It is much more about a pedagogy as opposed to specific talents that a teacher has, meaning that we're going to need the same number of third grade teachers that we needed before. But the way in which the teachers will engage with students and the pedagogy that they use will be more aligned with a STEAM philosophy, meaning it's a lot more exploratory. The concept of a launch, explore, discuss model of instruction will be followed that we've seen at Armstrong and Westlake, and now we'll employ that same model at Magna.
Are you looking at, because I know, it may have been Chris, but some board members have talked about the elementary in Jordan that has done an arts integration with it. I guess my question has to do with that arts part, because we've seen the STEM part happen with the A in there. What is specifically is going to happen to incorporate that as well?
That's a great question, and our new principal will work with his staff as they come on to develop what that looks like in their instruction across the board.
Okay.
My question isn't specific to you or this presentation. I think just a broad observation. I would really like to have these kinds of things included in our packet on Thursday, because it's hard to get 5 papers and then say, okay, what questions do you have? And we're all thumbing through it we're like, what does this paper even say? And so I would just like to make that request.
I don't want to cut you off there. Are you done? Is that your thought?
I think I've said enough.
I want to step in, and this was kind of a last-minute addition to the agenda, and right before the Christmas or holiday break, and I apologize. We kind of put this on them to put these materials together, and given the time frame, I told them it would be okay this one instance to have some paper handouts. So that is on me, and I will own that. Just given the holiday break and the timing, it just wasn't optimal to get some of those presentations in on time. So I apologize.
And I think, just to add to that, I think this was just meant to be like an overview of timing, because this is super helpful for my communities to know the process of the timing of what's going to happen when, because there's so many moving parts. And so getting it online will be great so we can share that. And but the timeline is really important. So thank you, Patrick.
Patrick, I see that most of these have this deal where the admin has to complete their interviews and their hires by February 28th. So I just want to make sure my expectations are correct. I'm assuming that most teachers by March 19th, they know where they're going, or they know that they have been surplused.
Yes, so the surplus timeline, schools will get their student enrollment that first Wednesday in March. Then there's an entire week for them to work through those numbers and start looking. And by a week from that first Wednesday in March, they will know surplus-wise who will, if they're in a surplus where they have too many teachers and they're going to need to move them, or if they'll be in need of teachers or there's openings. As far as assignments being known, in a perfect world, within a week and within 2 weeks of initially getting that, we are able to have assignments made, because there's more openings than there are teachers to be placed. If you'll recall, you may or may not remember 4 years ago or so, on that particular spring surplus, there were about 80 more teachers than there were openings. And so it took, we did not post, or we weren't able to post until all of those teachers that were on the surplus list had a spot, a landing spot. And so rather than being able to start to post for new positions middle of March, which typically we're able to do, that particular year, it wasn't until the last week in April or first week in May where we were able to do that. And so when you ask me that question, I'm thinking a little bit back to that. With as many movements as we have, it is possible when we get to that second week in March that we may find ourselves in a spot where there's more teachers that need to be placed than known openings at that time. Now, we are going to try and do some things to reach out to teachers and superintendent. I hope you're okay if I share this. But one of the things that we've talked about, if you look to some of our surrounding districts, they'll recognizing there's so much movement that's going to happen and that we need assistance from our teachers to be able to make this a smooth transition. The superintendent for this year only has approved, and I'll be sending out an email to our teachers here before the end of the week. Anyone who knows they'll be resigning, and that happens from year to year. If I know that my spouse is going to be, work's moving them to another location, I'm going to be going. Or if I know I'm going to be staying home with my family or taking care of a aging parent, if they let us know of that before the first day in March, then there's going to be an incentive to let us know of that. And so it's a $500 payment at the end of the year as a thank you for helping us to get the very best information in our hands before we get the surplus. By knowing that information, we're hoping that we can avoid the stress of moving more teachers than needed. What happens, because in the past we've never done anything like this, and I may know that I'm going to be leaving, but I don't say anything necessarily. I leave that in my back pocket just in case. Just in case. Mm-hmm. And most times there's not a need for just in case, and they could have let us know well in advance. And that knowledge could have helped move one less teacher, if you will, each time, for each instance, if that makes sense. And so for this year, because there's so many things going on, we're trying to be proactive as well as saying, hey, teachers, we love you. We appreciate everything you do. We don't want you to go. But if you know that you're going to be resigning, not retiring, but resigning, let us know up front so that we can help the others that'll still be here.
So my reason for asking that is that I feel like this is a lot of teachers in this packet impacted. Mm-hmm. And I know that it's a really stressful time for them. And when I am with them and I'm talking to them, I want to make sure that I am compassionate to that and that I recognize that that's going on when I need to. And so you're telling me that this period I should expect to go on really till the end of March. When is the stressful time over is what I want to know.
Yeah, well, so when we finally place the last surplus teacher in HR, that's when I honestly feel a little bit more at ease. Now, of course, there's always the stress of making sure we have all of our positions hired. But before that comes, in our professional agreement, it recognizes we won't post until we place those teachers that are on the surplus list.
And that is when?
Well, again, so
it's different every time.
Okay. That depends on the number of teachers that are on that surplus.
Okay.
And that ties back into student enrollment projections that are given to the principals that first Wednesday in March.
But one more thing is that you are saying that for sure every teacher has a placement. There is a place for all of our teachers. Whether or not they get their first choice is a different story. But I don't need to worry about if I'll have a job. It's what that job will look like.
Yes, and that's been a consistent message as we've gone out to the schools and visited with them. And initially, I'll be honest with you, when I have to imagine that it's a little bit like experiencing stages of grief when you get the news. Many of those schools, I'm thinking of a couple of elementary schools in particular I visited personally, and you can feel the camaraderie, the love they have. It's like a little family. And so to hear that, a place where they've been for a lot of years will be closing down and they're going to be moving, it's hard at first. And so the one thing that is hopeful though is, hey, we will have a spot for you. And we share that, even though maybe at the time it's hard to really appreciate how important and nice that is, because in other districts it isn't necessarily the case.
I do want to bring up, Julie, that this year specifically, this springtime might be even a little tighter. And it might elongate how long it takes people to get placed, because we are talking in earnest in ELT and in leadership. How can we allocate FTE in a way that can make it so that we can do all of the heavy lifting of moving people in the springtime so that we can eliminate a fall surplus, which will mean spring is much harder than it has been. That is our intent. We're trying to work towards that, but it just, the fall surplus is so ugly and such a tough time that we're trying to eliminate that, which means springtime is going to be hard.
And not just with these schools, with all our whole
All
district.
schools.
So
Right.
that's all over.
How, since you brought it up, how is that, I would imagine it's going to not just affect our spring surplus, but, I mean, what happens if we do end up needing, do you feel like this will be okay, or what happens if we end up needing more teachers come September? Is that easy to hire them in September, or is that much harder?
Yeah, a really good question. The best I can answer that is, and shooting straight with you, we all can recognize it makes sense. Those applicant pools of qualified teaching applicants are always deepest in the springtime as these young kids are graduating from their programs, and we have quite a few up and down the Wasatch Front in these universities. And other folks from other districts are looking at the potential of jumping from their district, and we do find we get a good number of mid-career teachers that'll come from Jordan or Salt Lake or Tooele Canyons. And they're doing most of their searching at that time. When we get to the later part of the summer and then into the fall, you can appreciate that whether it's us in Granite gobbling those applicants up or other districts, they're being picked up. So that's the start of the answer. But if you look at this last year where we had some really deep applicant pools, both in elementary and secondary, and they extended well beyond July, and we even saw in the early fall some of these positions that we put up, we were still getting between 10 to 15 already qualified applicants in there. Now, I think there's a reason to that. When we saw the disappearance, so ESSER funds no longer being used. So for the previous 4 years, we had these ESSER funds, not just in Granite, but all the districts. And those typically, that money was typically used for personnel or FTE or teachers. And so those positions, when the ESSER funds went away, those teachers, many of them still needed a job, and they found themselves in those applicant pools looking for positions that were no longer funded through ESSER, but through regular FTE, if that makes sense. So I think that that's partially the reason why we saw some really nice deep applicant pools. I anticipate that it'll be similar. Can I say it's exactly, well, I can't look in the future, but I can look in the recent past and say that's what we experienced. And we're not having any additional ESSER funds. So any of those teachers in other districts who are perhaps on 1 year only, they may find themselves still looking as we get later into the season. My hope is that by May, everybody's placed. And I remember when we had those 80 elementary teachers that were on the surplus list 4 years ago, I was a little nervous, and I went to Donette, and I thought, Donette, what are we going to do? I've never seen this. And so I do remember her saying, don't worry, it always works out, and it will work out. I'm glad I went through that because I had a chance to put it to the test. And to think that we got everybody placed by the end of April is a nice thought. And that was without reaching out to teachers and saying, hey, if you know you're going to be going, let us know now. A lot of those placements